Hi, welcome or welcome back. I doubt there's a lot of welcome backers. This is going to be a quick little update. So first, I just want to say that I do want to continue on the ideas that I had last year, which my channel is kind of pathetic right now. I only have the first video and then the one where I was gonna do a series. My life got kind of crazy. I moved. I live in Chicago now, so I moved state. This just wasn't frankly a priority. But I would like to get back to it, and I'm leaving that first video up because then, of course, as soon as I don't follow through, my idea becomes a trend. It wasn't exactly my idea. Well, when you're I've never had an original thought, that's kind of how I felt. I was like, fuck. But I am gonna leave that original one up just because I feel like I slighted myself a little bit by not following through because then I could have been an early pioneer of this whole personal curriculum trend, and instead I lacked ambition or something. I don't know. But anyway, I want to keep doing it. I do want to keep doing it at least for myself. That all being said, my day-to-day life in Cincinnati was a little bit busier. I've been less busy here in Chicago. B, the winter is a less busy time in general, so I think that like not starting right before summer will really benefit the whole momentum of it all. Um and Yeah, I've already filmed one of these. I did one of these last year. It took me a little bit. I did it on the First Amendment, and everything has been is everything filmed? Not everything, but everything has been read, watched, listened to, whatever the resources I was using, that it's all been done. And so I think that I will upload that eventually. Should I get into what my plans are for this year? Probably. Okay, so I did take inspiration from the personal curriculum trend and the scheduling and the revolving around school life. But I stuck with my original ideas, which by the way, I'm actually really grateful that this whole thing has happened because it's given me a lot of ideas. It's really cool and creative, the things that people come up with. When I first thought of it last spring, was just going to do basic social justice warrior shit, I guess. And since then, I've realized that there are bigger things that I can do, and so I might steal other people's ideas. I'll give them credit, of course, but like I saw Sarah Danielle, I think, is doing hers on whales. That's fun. I probably won't personally do whales, but I like the direction that other people are going with it. There have been a few people who I can link below who I've taken ideas from Substack, yada, yada, yada. So, anyway, I have taken people's ideas for revolving it around a school schedule, and I've kind of scheduled mine out in a similar manner. I do know my first two, but another thing about the ones that I have done so far and have thought of so far is they tend to revolve around current events. And so I do have ideas for the second half of the year, but I don't know if they'll stay. So I'll let you know what they are, but don't, you know, take everything I say for the second half of the year with a grain of salt. So the first one I'm going to do is on gun control. And I'm going to start with the basics. I'm going to start literally with the Second Amendment. I'm going to do Second Amendment history, things like that. I'm going to start reading on January 7th. I copied um my alumni's school schedule. So I'm following their schedule because that's what feels right to me. My alumni. I need to look into that. It is going to be split into three loose units. The first one is going to be the history of the Second Amendment. The second is going to be on modern gun culture. And the third is going to be on gun violence prevention tactics, because I don't feel like it's really beneficial for me to just talk about it being there and then not mention any sort of solutions that people have come up with. That being said, I have thought of other ideas to branch off of this one. So if you're mad because I don't cover like white supremacy, that's because that might be a whole other episode, its own episode. Does that make any sense? Of course it does. Um, so yeah, basics. We're doing basics. I want to talk about the history of the Second Amendment, why it's relevant today and why it's such a buzzword, and then possible solutions. So I have found a handful of books, articles, podcasts. I didn't find any documentaries that looked good. If you know of any, let me know. I'll watch it. I want to start with the fact that this idea came to me as soon as Charlie Kirk was shot. Yes. And all of everybody kept posting that quote where he was like, I think that a few gun deaths per year is worth the Second Amendment. Okay, that's crazy to me. But, you know, if it floats your boat, I guess it floats your boat. Why do I have to die to float your boat? I'm not sure, but whatever. Um, so I'm like, I want to know. I want to know why these people feel so passionately about the Second Amendment and it remaining in our Constitution. Like, why do they feel so passionate that they're willing for first graders to die in order to keep it there? I want to know. So, the books that I found were The Second Amendment, a biography by Michael Waldman. As far as I know, this is literally just, it's like 250 pages, like an overview of the Second Amendment. The second one I'm going to read is Madison's Militia by Carl T. Bogus, which like the last name is having me question whether this book is real. I'm not gonna lie. It's called Madison's Militia: The Hidden History of the Second Amendment, and it's around 330 pages. As far as I know, it's about like slave ownership, how that tied into the implementation of the Second Amendment in the Constitution. Based on my brief understanding of the synopsis, that's what I think it's about. I thought it was important to include because I think it answers the question of like why we included it in the first place, or why the founding fathers included it in the first place. And then I have a few articles and podcasts that I'm going to listen to. One is by Throughline. I love them. By the way, they're an NPR podcast, I think. They have been so helpful, and the other one, like the other things that I've done, shout out. And then for the second unit, um, is the modern gun culture. Again, I have two books. One Nation Under Guns by Dominic Erdozane. Erdozane. That looks like it would be that. So I'm gonna read that. It's another short one, and then the final book that I have on here is American Gun by Chris Kyle, which is the American Sniper guy, by the way. It's called American Gun, hold on, A History of the US and 10 Firearms. I wanted to find a book that was from the other perspective because I don't think it's exactly helpful to answer my question of like why does Charlie Kirk or did Charlie Kirk think that it was necessary for first graders to die in order to have this amendment. I didn't think it was helpful for me to only hear from the perspective of the left. That being said, my dad, who does like guns, I asked him for recommendations and he did say, I have a few for you. You can just borrow them. And I go home tomorrow back to Cincinnati for Christmas. So we will see what he gives me. And I might end up reading one of those. We'll see. We'll see how long it is, if I think it's helpful, etc. And again, I have some other articles and a podcast, a Stuff You Should Know podcast. I also love them. They're just so brief and amazing. Included in there. And then for the third unit, gun violence prevention tactics, I only have articles. I felt like a lot of the books that I saw were kind of maybe in subsects that I didn't want to go into yet, or maybe just not as helpful with that what I want. There are a few resources I found that I'm not going to be using. All articles or podcasts, I can link them below, or I can link them in that video. when I get there, I'll list what I found that I thought about using, but I couldn't fit in time wise. And yeah, that's the first one. It's all laid out. Again, it's going to start January 7th. It'll end February 20th ish. And then the video will go up after that. I have also decided this year to accompany every video with a Substack article because I need to write out my thoughts or I won't understand what I'm thinking. So everything will come with like a written out Substack article. Feel free to read that or watch the video. I don't really give a fuck. These are kind of more for my own like recall and memory. But I also think it's helpful to see how people lay them out, etc. This is very much like amateur hour. You're going to be learning with me. I'm not an expert in anything. That's the reason I'm doing this. So I think I've explained this in the first video, but take what you want, leave what you want, and we can embark on a journey together. Um, Also, just a friendly reminder that I am but human, and I'm going to get things wrong, and I'm going to maybe draw conclusions that you wouldn't draw yourself. That's just the name of the game, girl. The second one that I'm doing will be from like I'm gonna take like a month off, and it's then gonna go from like the end of March, I think the 27th, to the beginning of May. And I'm going to do one that I had. My idea was last year, like I kind of started doing it. I read one book and then right after that I moved, so I stopped. But it's me doing my white girl homework. And I think before I jump into any issues involving race that maybe it would be best for me to learn how to talk about it as a white woman rather than just jumping in and maybe saying something stupid. So I'm going to read all of the books that everybody was recommending in May of 2020. So I've already read So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijoma Aluo. When that video comes out, you will see my reaction. Also, that video is going to be kind of weird because a part of it, the first like bit, is going to be in my last apartment, and then the rest of it will be like literally almost a year later in this apartment, but that's okay. Other books that I picked out for this unit that I'm going to be reading are Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo Lodge, How to Be Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi, White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo, which I read like a chapter of. I liked it so far. And then Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Ta-Nehisi? No. Yes. Ta-Nehisi Coates. I'll have to look up these names. So that is the second unit. It's going to be kind of like not as I mean, I guess it will be serious because we're talking about like my relationship as a white person to people of color, but like literally it's just doing my white girl homework. I guess I will be discussing heavy stuff, but whatever. I hope that vibe comes off. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Okay, so then we get into the summer. And I've decided every summer I'm going to do a zoom in on one person, a biography, if you will. And last year when I thought of this, I was like, I'll probably do MLK. Like I'll do like the big one because I did the white. I want it to relate to a previous year's subject. But then I never did the doing my white girl homework. So I think actually this year I'm going to do Shakespeare because I did not learn a lot about Shakespeare in school. I learned about Romeo and Juliet, and then it kind of ended there. And that was really my freshman and sophomore year of high school. That was a really long time ago. I don't remember anything. Plus, I have Hamlet on my shelves behind me, and I've had it for a really long time, and I've never read it, because I'm scared to. But I want to know, like, he's the blueprint, or she. We don't know. So I think I'm gonna do Shakespeare. The other half of the summer, my loose idea right now is female friendship. I saw somebody do this on Substack or put one of these together. I know I have it saved. I don't know who off the top of my head did it, but I'll link their article below, or their essay below. I have a couple books written down. I think that might be my idea. Um, August through October, My idea right now is a psychology touch base. So I kind of want to do this every year too. I was a psychology major. I don't want to give up on it. Like, or I want to keep learning about it. I majored in it for a reason. I thought it was fun and I liked it a lot. So I would like to keep doing that. So right now my idea for that is the body keeps the score in supplemental learnings. This I feel like the body keeps the score is such a part of the cultural lexicon and I've never read it. So I would like to read it and then anything else I can find that kind of like relates to it. Again, if you have any ideas, let me know. Um, and then October through December, my loose idea again right now is consumption, women, and food. But I don't really want it to revolve around eating disorders. I want to I want to read like Tender's the Flash. I want to throw some fiction in there. um, I have a book written down, Holy Anorexia by Rudolph M. Bell. I don't know. That one's kind of a shaky idea. I have other ones. I was going to go more into gun control and do like white supremacy and gun control, and I wanted to read Jesus, John Wayne, and blah blah blah, whatever that book is. But then I thought if I learned about guns too much, that I would start getting really depressed, and so we're gonna actually switch it up. I have one on here that's the German performative hygiene. That could be an idea. Conservative women. I just wrote down Quentin Tarantino. Why? Because I have a personal vendetta against him right now. I have women in aging, poetry, etc. So I don't know. I don't know where we'll go the second half of the year, but the first half of the year is laid out. Let me know if you have any ideas. I think a problem with last year is I took this a little bit too seriously, so I think everything is going to be really relaxed. I do have ideas for like other vlogs, kind of like I was doing with my summer of Emily with Emily Henry, but I don't want to be that rigid. It's just a little difficult for me. So I might take like a Melissa, the post office girl type of approach and do just weekly vlogs and show what I'm reading that week and what I'm doing. And yeah, be a little bit more chill with it until I figure out my footing. Okay, great talk. Like I said, if you have any ideas or any resource recommendations, please leave them below and I will see you in the new year. I'm so excited. I think this will be a good year. God, fingers crossed. Bye.